Hello and welcome to the regular Friday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. This is a late show for UK, but we mainly do the late show on a Friday for UK and Canadian and Aussies and people like Chang who have got time zones which are well out of our time zone. And we like to, because these guys get up and at all hours to watch our team play football, we thought here at Spurs Diehards that we'd put a show in a time which suits them a bit better as we can get it, because it's 10 o'clock in the UK, right? So we're sort of trying to split the difference with them a bit. Anyway, what we'll be talking about tonight, we'll be talking about the debacle of the Europa League game against AZ Alkmaar. We'll do a preview of Bournemouth, and we'll also talk about the transfer system and players and what we actually need rather than what we actually want. By that, I mean, what should our priorities be? How many do you think we would get? Because it's no good saying like, oh, let's ship after squad out 12 players or something, because you know you're not going to bring 12 in. Anyway, without further ado, I'll introduce our guest, Mod Chang. How are you, mate?
Doing very well here on a Saturday morning in Southeast Asia. It already is 6 a.m. On the 8th of March 2025. And that's result from I would say it's the previous night because it's a Thursday night, but for me it was yesterday early morning. So the result from yesterday wasn't too pleasing. I'm so fortunate to have missed the game entirely, but if the highlights are able to go by, I think I dodged the bullet there by missing out on the 1:45 a.m. Thursday morning kickoff, and I would say that we were very lucky and fortuitous to only concede the one goal, as is almost customary now throughout our entire season, to just lose by that odd solitary single goal. But nevertheless, lessons to be learned, as though we don't have that in abundance enough already this season. And the only thing I can say, the only saving grace that I would say about that tie on the first leg is that we still have an opportunity to make up ground in the second leg. Although, if things don't improve and improve drastically, I will add, I think it's going to be yet another short-lived knockout campaign in Europe. Although what gives me hope is the international break. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the players that go away on the international breaks will come back fully fit and firing, ready to go once they've met up with their national counterparts. Speaking of which, welcome, Mr. Allen. And
Hey.
as I was saying, you know what? That game is over. That tie is all but over. I'm really looking forward to Sunday at home against Bournemouth. Although I feel that it's a bit bittersweet having Romero and Van der Ven back, just as we've lost Solanke mere minutes after subbing him on against Alkmaar. I'm sure we'll go into that in a bit later on. But whatever's done is done in Alkmaar, in the Netherlands. We move on. We have to focus on Sunday now, and let's just see how Sunday transpires, and if anything changes on the injury front during the international break. Having said that, back to you, Mr. Stroker.
Thank you, Chang. Drew, if my fellow admin here, co-host here, if you can handle the comments in the chat channel, we'll get Alan in. Alan, welcome, regular friend and guest of the show. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, guys. How you doing? Yes, sunny again, thankfully. It's what we pay for here in San Diego.
How we envy you. And Drew, how are you?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad, mate. I think I've got a little small case of Spursitis at the moment. I don't usually get too fed up, but yesterday was a tough one because last 2 weeks all I've been harping on about is, I just want to see something that resembles a performance or just performances from now to the end of the season. And if last night was anything to go by, I mean, I don't know. I'm still trying to keep my chin up. So we'll have some cathartic conversation and try and get back on track.
Right. We're going to start with this right first. So post-match out as the Alkmaar away. Well, Chang, this was the team. What was your thoughts when you saw that? Did you see the game or not?
I've only seen bits and pieces of it because I missed the 1:45 a.m. Thursday morning kickoff. But I was able to see enough of the highlights to know that I think now that it's all but confirmed that Benton Kur will be suspended for the second leg, that
Yes.
midfield needs to get its act together. I don't know whether it's Bergval or Madison or maybe the absence of a Bissouma or a Sar that just we just completely fell apart, and there was absolutely no cohesion. I didn't see anything of significance to sort of give me any sort of hope that the second half will be any better. Although now that we are boosted by the returns of Romero and Van der Ven, hopefully those two should be able to feature for us in centre back. Because as much as I value and appreciate Archie Gray, he still hasn't reached that level yet to be reckoned with in Europe at this, especially at this knockout stage. So hopefully we will have the likes of Van der Ven and Romero back, because if we aren't conceding at the back, at the very least, I would like to see those towering centre backs of ours pose some sort of set piece threat going forward, because I think that will be one of the only avenues of attack for us come the second leg at home at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And I mean, again, yet another midweek, yet another underwhelming performance. I mean, Son and Johnson, I thought they would have been able to kick on since our defeat to City. I mean, if that was one game that we didn't deserve to lose at home to City, then the away leg to Alkmaar was one game that we certainly deserve to get anything from it at all. which then brings me to just shake my head and ask questions again about our medical staff. Why is Solanke rushed back in, and then he has to hobble off even before full time, and now we are left with another conundrum of what to do with our forward line come Sunday, let alone the second leg. And I think it's safe for me to say that from that first leg, it's so clear and obvious that Kulusevski, our undoubted player of the season, is a big miss, and he will be a big miss again come Sunday. But I'm not going to go into that just yet. The team, this team that you see beneath me,
Yeah.
they have to step up massively. Every single one of them. Even Spence for that matter, or even Udogi as well. I mean, I know he's just coming back from injury. He's just only getting minutes under his legs. But come on, we expected a lot more. And as for Madison, I mean, you can see why Roy Keane was so keen to lay into him with regards to his own underwhelming performances. But what gives me hope is that that first leg was only a single goal deficit, as is customary throughout this season for us. And let's just see what transpires come Sunday against Bournemouth. And I really am hoping for an upturn in results, because just as we are building or gaining momentum with those 3 consecutive league wins, suddenly we find ourselves with back-to-back defeats, both in the league and in Europe. So hopefully we stop the rot come Sunday and turn up and put on a proper performance against Bournemouth. Back to you, Mr. Stroker.
Alan, what did you make of the lineup? I assume you saw the game.
I did. I watched it. What did I make of the lineup? I was looking at the pitch before the game, and I guess Ange had a difference of opinion. I thought the pitch looked just fine enough to have our best players out there, considering Europa is pretty much the thing we've all hung our hat on. Because we're out of FA, we're out of the cups, so and we're below mid. We're a mid-table team at the moment, so I would have thought that Ange would have wanted to put his strongest and best foot forward, and I think that this lineup didn't do that. I didn't. I don't understand.
Alan,
What's that?
why is that? Do you think that Ange feels he's under so much pressure now? It's virtually the Europa League, either win it or get to the final or whatever to save his job virtually. I mean, like, do you think he was just being ultra cautious? I mean, I've seen Spurs teams play on mud baths back in the day. Pitches weren't the scientific products they are today. I've seen them play, even the Spurs pitch, it used to be a sand pit through the middle. They used to throw sand on it and stuff like that. So,
even in my time, we did that.
At the same time, Alan, we can always look at the facts and say, well, hang on, I get it. He's the one who takes the risk. If the pitch isn't up to like Premier League standards, which it wasn't, right, looking at it, is he thinking, well, God, if I put them on this pitch now, one of them gets an injury, then I'll have to take the flak for why they get injured. I'm not defending it. I'm just throwing an angle at it.
Sure. I mean, hindsight's 2020. We look back and we say, oh, Dom Solanke went down anyway and got injured, having nothing to do with the pitch. But and I don't think anybody got injured in the game as a result of the pitch. I think it just didn't make a lot of sense to me because to me it didn't look that bad. I mean, I'm not a pro, but that looked pretty darn good. I know I've seen our players play in worse, stadiums, on the pitch. So I didn't understand it. This is Ange is under a microscope. No matter which way you cut it, whether you're Ange in or Ange out, he's still very much under a microscope because going into this game, I think it was 17 losses in all competitions, which is just unacceptable. So if I can only speak from my point of view, and that's, for me, I would have put my strongest foot forward. And we had on the bench Van de Ven and Romero, and to be honest, we could have. I like to sit Johnson. I don't like to start Johnson. Johnson is not a 90-minute player for me, and trying to make him one, I think it misses the point. Use him to the best of his ability, and I think he comes in as an impact sub and kind of a guy that your target man, because he's really good at putting in crosses, putting crosses away into the goal. He has a lot of goals. So I just think that he got the lineup kind of wrong. There's certain players that I think, Bergvall, who I think had just a horrible game, in my opinion. I think he had a horrible game, which happens. It happens to the best of players. It happens to the worst of players, and to the young players. But he just, unfortunately, he had a bad game. But I would have started him. I don't know that I would have started Gray. I thought that we would have, if we started Danzo and maybe Van de Ven, I could have seen, because I think Romero and Danzo are kind of similar style players, and I think Van de Ven would be the complement. I don't understand why we think Tell is a 9 or a striker. I just don't think that. I watched him at Bayern, so whenever he subbed in, which wasn't a lot, he certainly would never have had any time if he waited for Harry Kane to be subbed, and he sometimes subbed in for Harry Kane in the late time, or on the few instances where Harry got injured in the middle of the game. But generally speaking, he wouldn't come in the center, through the middle. And I think he's a winger. I don't know why we're playing him where we're playing him. It doesn't set him up for success. We've said it before with the youth. If we play them out of position, I don't know why we would expect the best out of them on a regular basis. They're young. He's brand new to the Premier League. Putting him in a position that he's not going to flourish in just makes no sense at all. We're lucky with Gray. Gray is if anything, this shows that Gray is extraordinary because he was able to flourish for the most part in positions that are not his. But if I was the coach, I would have put a slightly different lineup in. I probably would have had Solanke starting. I would have had Van de Ven in instead of Gray, which is not a knock on Gray, but Van de Ven is the starter there. And maybe one or two other changes, I think. I don't think Kulu was a huge miss. Kulu hasn't had a good game, which could be as a result of how many games he's played consecutively, or for the most part consecutively. Previously, he played a ton of games. I remember Adrian had one of those tiles up that you could see where he played, how many games he played in a row, or how many games he had played.
Yeah,
But it's a lot of that.
About 40 appearances, and
he's already played an entire Premier League season, pretty much.
Yeah, he's already played, and I think that is what is weighing on Kulu, less that he's, I've heard sort of naysayers about Kulu, which is a little reactionary. I think the guy's just dog tired.
Well, he's got 10 goals and 10 assists.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good.
I think he's just dog tired. I think anyone, even those in the best of shape, if you go from the 90s players or older than that, I think anyone playing a full season like that up to now and still going, look, I can't even see the finish line yet. It would be a big ask. So I think he's just tired, but I don't think he was a huge miss. He hadn't been that great these last couple of games. He scored a goal. He had a dog-s game. I think, who was it against? It was against Ipswich. He had a. Oh yeah, it was against Ipswich. It was a dog shit performance, but he had that phenomenal out of nowhere goal. So he's capable of that. I just think he needs a. And what's more, I think that Bentancur and Bergvall and Madison all need to step up. So I was okay with them in the middle.
Drew, your take on the lineup? I mean, hindsight, it can't be hindsight crickets. When you first see it, what's your thought?
I was a little bit surprised, but then I think if you take a step back and look at it, I don't ever think that he was going to start VDV and Romero first game back, especially and I get your point, Alan. The pitch may have looked great from where we were on TV, but those guys were there the night before training and, doing their bits. So if they say the pitch wasn't what they expected, then that's fair enough. Whether you can use it as an excuse, I mean, they're professionals, so I don't know. And like Graham said in the chat, AZ seemed to be popping it about all right. It didn't really seem to affect them too much. So I think it's a little bit of a lame excuse. But if again, to Alan's point, if you're concerned, I mean, these two have been out for a while. It was both muscle injuries. It wasn't contact injuries. You're now playing on a pitch which, I don't know, maybe a little bit too hard. I mean, the last thing any of us want is for VDV to get a start, and after 20 minutes, he's pulling up because the pitch was too hard, and now he's got another muscular thing or another hamstring's gone. So on the one hand, is it frustrating that we don't get to see our two best centre-backs? Yes. Do I understand, the frustration? Absolutely. Do I also understand kind of where he's coming from a little bit? Also,
I mean, if we have, sorry, Drew, real quick, I just wanted to say, if we have a player like you mentioned Van de Ven, if he couldn't play on that hard pitch, he feels kind of like a player. He's like a glass cannon, right? He's made of glass.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably we should have done our due diligence on his hamstring injury before he came to Spurs. Probably. I mean, yeah. I think unfortunately you've got a player that plays on the edge in terms of, I guess, his body and how quickly he plays, and then you've got a manager that is kind of trying to push that edge. So I don't know if that was ever going to be a match made in heaven anyway. So I don't know.
Would you sell him? Would you sell him as a result? Well, he's still probably got a lot of value.
The way it is at the moment, to be honest with you, given the fact that Christian Romero has missed 60 games that he could have played over the last two seasons, I can't believe I'm saying it. I'd consider both of them. I'd consider bids for both of them.
I agree,
mean,
100%.
But then, then also I'm hearing myself say that, and I'm like, I can't believe that I'm saying it, because they're arguably on their day two of the best centre backs in European football, and you don't want to get rid of your best players. But when I heard that, especially about Romero the other day, that out of the time that he's been there, he's missed 60 games through injury and suspension, and you think to yourself, 60 games, that's 3/4 of two Premier League seasons almost. Like, what? And that it just completely shocked me. So on that basis, you can kind of understand. I don't know. I can see why you keep faith in the two players that have arguably, helped to win 3 out of the last 4 games. I can see the need to kind of keep some sort of harmony in the squad. And did Danzo and Gray deserve to be benched for those two to start? I don't necessarily know that they do, so I can understand why they started. I've got a huge issue with Bentancur at the moment, because I don't think Bentancur is doing anywhere near the job that he's supposed to be doing. He lost it last night, put in a stupid challenge that got him a yellow card, and you could see the fire in his eyes. And it's one thing to put a tackle in and let people know you're there, but if that's all you're going to do, and you're not going to bother to put your foot on the ball or try and calm down your teammates or try and tell players where they're supposed to be, he was absolutely lost. And I'm more and more each week, I want to see a pattern of play, right? And I want to see, and I guess maybe I'm being harsh, because like you said, Adrian, we were talking backstage, everyone says, oh, they want the players are back, so therefore we should play better. Well, to your point, the players haven't even played yet, so how can we expect anything different? So I don't know. I was extremely disappointed. I would have thought after 8 days, at the very least, you'd have enough stamina. And with the situation with the team and the league, I just expected more across the board from all of them. Everybody looked at everybody else looking for excuses, and I didn't really see anybody man up and say, what the hell are we doing? Like, get in your positions. Like, I don't know. There was a spell in the second half for like 5 or 6 minutes where I thought that they were starting to do something, and then it just kind of, AZ were all over us. AZ wanted it more. You could see. The only thing I can hope is over the next couple of days, we can get the next couple of games out of the way, hopefully get a result against Bournemouth, hopefully get through the Alkmaar game, hopefully nobody comes through with an injury in the international break. And I hope he can coach some sense into him. I don't know. I was optimistic a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not sure where we go from here now.
Well, with me, when I looked at the squad, I looked at it. One, my question mark was against Tell. Well, it seems like Ange is trying to play him into form. His stats as a young player are phenomenal, but he hasn't shown it. He got the good goal against Villa, didn't he, with the outside of his foot from the decking. So he's obviously a talent. He wouldn't be getting in the team if he wasn't a talent. But my argument on the centre-backs is, one, I would have started Romero. And the reason I would have started him, because he's the only centre-back we got that progresses us up the field. Everything goes through him. He's the quarterback, right? So I other than that, I would only query the front three and really query Tell. The Johnson issue to me, no one, all high press, it's all about overloads, but it's not just overloads on the wing. It's about overloads all over the pitch. This is how you should play out the back. You get an overload to play out the back. So you've got the extra man to give the ball to. I know it can be nervy at times, but that's the point, not giving the ball away. Yeah, so with this team, I was looking at it, I thought, yeah, that's okay. I was happy with the midfield. I was happy with the back four. I preferred Romero a start, because during training, apparently, Danso had been playing to the left of him, and that was a clue. I thought, oh, he's given us a clue. He's going to play Danso and Romero together. It wouldn't have bothered me, right? So, but it didn't happen. Tell, there's a lot of Spurs fans thinking, what, and I can understand it, what, 50, 60 mil, or he's on a 10 mil loan, or something. There's rumoured if it is 10 mil, probably isn't. It's probably about 5 or something, because he's not here for many games. Like, if they want 50 mil for him, not 60, because it's always exaggerated. Every transfer fee is exaggerated by 10 or 15 mil anyway. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that was that. Well, let's just talk about the subs, because Chang, the subs bench looks strong though, didn't it?
That subs bench in itself, I think you could argue that we've not had this sort of characters to call upon to sort of lift us up if things aren't going well. I mean, you look at that bench, you're thinking, wow, we have Solanke, Romero, Porro, even Mikey Moore, Van der Ven and Bissouma to call upon, even Sar too for that matter. But I mean, sometimes you just have to ask the question, if these players are even fit enough to be on the bench, shouldn't any of them be starting, especially given the gravity of the first
Excellent
league?
point, Chang. Let me just interrupt for a minute because we've already alluded to it. Why are you taking Romero and VDV if you're not going to give them some game time? Why are you taking them?
So yeah, so that actually goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning of the show, when Solanke came on as a substitute, only to then have to be substituted himself in the dying minutes when he then picked up the injury. And then this actually did play on my mind, whether should we risk starting both Romero and Van der Ven together when the last time they did that against Chelsea ended in disaster for us, and that further set them back from their returns. So maybe hindsight's 2020, but I think something has to give, especially come Sunday. And I would love to see a lot of these players start Sunday to just give Ange and us fans food for thought or something to think about of the team selection come the second leg at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Honestly, against Alkmaar at the Netherlands, we've already seen Mikey Moore do it once this season. I don't see why he shouldn't be given that opportunity against Alkmaar in the second leg. I think the same could be said also for the likes of Pape Matasar and Odebeer. But you know what? I'm not going to fuss too much on the lack of productivity coming off the bench onto the pitch for us. But a lot of these players here in this list down below me, I think a lot of them have to be playing come Sunday, because otherwise we won't be able to have a clearer and a better idea of what to expect from any of these players after the international break, because a lot of them might even be thinking, you know what, season's over. We can't really get relegated, neither can we qualify for Europe via the league. So let's just focus everything on the second leg of the Europa League. And even then, if that performance away at the Netherlands is anything to go by, it will appear that neither of them are interested at all in getting into the next stage of this competition. So hopefully we will see something different come Sunday. And yes, Mrs. Roker, I am fully expecting a lot of these names to actually be starting on Sunday over the likes of Johnson or Son or even Tell. But seeing that we still have this mini international break to come, so I will leave it to Big Ange to put out the players. But honestly, anyone, whether you are a starter or a bench player or even one of the youth players, you have to really properly step up now, because not only is Big Ange's time, not only is he living on borrowed time, even some of these players as well, the likes of your Bissouma, if he doesn't pull up his socks, it wouldn't surprise me one bit that he gets sold this summer. And I could say the same maybe for even Son. I mean, I know he still has another year in him, the contract, but this season and last season was very, very underwhelming from him. So yeah, a lot of these players really have to get their act together. And let's all hope for a difference first come the end of the international break. Although yeah, I think there is a bit too much to ask of them at this stage of the season. But we've seen stranger things, and let's just see what happens come Sunday. Maybe then we would then have something to be cheering about during the international break, and the players themselves would be geared up and fired up for the second leg at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Having said that, back to you, Mr. Stroker.
Alan, your take on the subs? A good bench for you?
I mean, it's a strong bench. Arguably, the bench was stronger than the lineup, the starting lineup. So, can you bring up? I was confused why we had Alfie Whiteman on. Brandon, we only need Brandon Austin. I mean, I guess it could happen that Vicario could get injured and then Brandon Austin could get injured.
Blame for those that don't know. Whereas in the Premier League you're allowed 9 substitutes, in the Europa League you're allowed 12. So if you count that bench, still only 11 on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 11. So we could have had another player on a substitutes bench, but it gets to a point. Well, is it worth? I mean, Levy saves on a plane ticket, right? So,
Right.
one player at home. So, yeah.
And you say that people say that he doesn't splurge on the players.
And it might have been they might. I mean, I didn't see all the training, but they may have used both goalkeepers in a training routine or drills or something. I'm just guessing here, though.
Maybe.
I don't know. I might be talking
Sure.
rubbish, but yeah.
I just thought that there were too many starters on the bench. There just were too many. It looked weird, like someone who wasn't super familiar with the lineup, and suddenly they were the ones making the lineup. And you're like, well, I don't know. Some of these names sound pretty good, so we'll make them start. And others, like me, when I first started to learn who these players, I would have had no clue who some of these players are when I first started watching Tottenham. So, so yeah, the free kick routine. I thought that there was just too much strength left on the bench. He didn't sub in Romero or Van de Ven. He subbed in Solanke. There was too much strength on the bench left, and when he did sub on, did he take Tell off at the half? Someone he took off at the half.
No, he took Tell off. Scarlett come on when Solanke went off.
Right.
This is further down. I've got this in the game when we come to talk about the game itself. Right, where are we? Scarlett was for Solanke, and prior to that, Odebert came on for Tell at half time.
Odebert came on for Tell. Yeah. Even Odebert, who we haven't seen much of, I think at least he shows a lot of fire. I think there's improvements that need to happen for him, but I think he shows a certain amount of fire and desire that a lot of the other players didn't show in that game. But as far as the bench, I thought there was way too much strength left on the bench, and to be honest, I don't think he subbed properly.
I mean, like I said earlier, I would have preferred Romero at start just because we've missed him. I think we've missed him. Now, I know he's Marmite to a lot of Spurs fans, half like him, half don't like him. I really rate the player. I think he really gets us up the field, progresses us up, and I think we've missed that. Your take on the subs, Drew?
Do you know what? I guess I got a slightly different take on it because I don't see the point. If there was a genuine, and people can say it's just an excuse, if there was a genuine concern for Romero and VDV, on top of the fact that we are 1-0 down and looking for a goal, or at least I don't know that we were under that much pressure defensively that it warranted subbing the defenders for Romero or VDV. And I mean, he obviously didn't start Solanke because Solanke wasn't fit enough to do 90 minutes. Arguably not even fit enough to do 45 minutes, because if he was, you'd have probably started him. The fact that he came on for the last 20 minutes told me that he's probably only about 20% fit. So you can't start him at the beginning because nobody in their right mind substitutes their striker off after 25, 30 minutes. It just doesn't happen that way round. If you've got that much time in your legs, then you get brought on at the end of the game. That's just how football works. The impact injury you can't legislate for. And if you look at, there's a camera angle that shows it from Johnson's side when he puts in the cross. The keeper comes and lifts up his knee, and Solanke gets it right in the small of the back. And I've been there, and it's agony. But it still is an impact injury, and he still managed to walk off on his own. Now, if we find out later that he's got a fractured vertebrae, and we can all have a go at the medical staff for having him walk off the pitch, just like Bentancur did 2 years ago when he had his ACL issues, and that that can be a whole different story. But the problem with I think in this instance, he's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't. He didn't want to play VDV and Romero, and then if we go a goal down and then he brings them on, it's like people say, "Oh, well, he hasn't got a clue. We're trying to go for a goal, and he's bringing on defenders." So I just think it was poor all around. I think the blame of Sean Butler, bless him. Hope you're all right, Sean, if you're listening. He says there's a big old pizza and everybody gets a slice of the blame, and I think that's the case last night. I don't know what we've been doing for the last 8 days. I think Ange was wrong in the way he set up. I think the players had the wrong attitude. I mean, I don't know with this team at the moment. I really don't, because as I said previously, I was really hoping my optimism was just, I was hoping that we would get performances from now until the end of the season. And given, all right, it wasn't amazing against Ipswich. We had a better second half against City, but again, it's another loss. You watched that last night, and it just feels like another step backwards. But as I say, as far as the substitutes, I don't know what more he could have done. Johnson has to start because he's the only right winger we got now, because Kulusevski's, I guess you could play Odegaard out there, but Odegaard, I still think is not recovering from his injury, but you're still nursing him back to match fitness. Exactly. So I don't think he's got it in him to start. And I don't know. I think it was.
We discussed a little while back. It's all right, the players coming back from injury, but then we're expecting them to hit the ground running straight away. Now that can happen,
right?
But more often than not, it takes a few games,
right?
It doesn't happen. My take on the subs: if you're going to take VD and Romero, I don't care what the pitch is like. At least give them, 25 minutes each. And I will critique Ange on the subs because, we'll do that when we get into the game, right? So that was the subs, right? We'll go to the point of this, right? 18 minutes, 1-0, Bergvall on goal. Parrott scuffs the ball. I think Coop Miners took the corner. I think it come from a corner, and Parrott scuffed it. And from his team, it's back across the 6-yard box. Bergvall, I ain't blaming him for that. He tried to clear it. I mean, if a striker scored a goal like that, you'd be raving about him, it'd be like Odo against Watford years ago, right? But I mean, clumsily diverts the ball over Vicario. Yeah, and then so that's 1-0 on 31 minutes. Parrott was put through. Alexa just spoke up when she wasn't spoken to, right? Right. Parrott put through. Good save. Looked like it was going to be 2-0. And how ironic if our ex-player, who's got 17 goals anyway out there, 12 in the league, scored against them. This is what makes us all mad as Spurs fans when Sonny and Maddison messed up that free kick. Oh my God. What are these coaches doing? We've got 6 first-team coaches, 1 goalkeeping coach, Rob Birch, amongst them, right? What are they doing on our set plays? Don't even think of complicated set plays. I mean, we can go back to early Spurs teams not so long ago when we took a corner, it'd be taken to the angle of the penalty area, and either Sheringham or Sherwood would run in and smash it. But at least you got a shot on target, whether it went on the net. What happened to the chip over the wall and someone running in behind the wall and tapping it in the net? Why aren't we going for goal with these free kicks and pouncing about them? What happened with who's got the hardest shots in the team? Do we know? What happened to the tap to the side of the wall and someone running and smashing a hard shot, hoping the goalkeeper spills it or it crashes into the back of the net? And what is it with this team? Is it written in like Sky's contracts or something that when you get a free kick that's a bit central or to the left or right, you have to have a player who tries to bend it over the wall? I think 1 in 16 free kicks. The last time I looked, it may have changed, so I could stand corrected here. 1 in 16 free kicks, right, are scored from that position. Yet there seems to be a magnetic attraction that every time there's a wall. Why not tap it to where there isn't a fucking wall, right? And let someone have a shot. I mean, I don't get it. What happened? I mean, remember when England played Argentina and we were winning 1-0. Argentina got a free kick and they just slipped the ball down the side of the wall. And I forget it was nipped in and scored. And we went out on penalties as usual, right? But I mean, like, I don't get it with these free kicks. Throw-ins, they're another bone of contention with me. Our throw-ins are just crap. One, you should take them quick. Because when you got a throw-in, you've now got 9 outfield players to your opponent's 10. So when they've got a throw-in, we're giving them far too much room. We're giving the opposition far too much room on throw-ins when I'm looking at them. Anyway, that's my little rant over. I'll have another rant later. Right. So, that messed up free kick, which was disgrace.
Disgrace.
38 minutes, Johnson shoots over him 20 yards. Tried, didn't he? 46 minutes. Second half, Odegaard come on for Tull. I think this is where Ange got things wrong. I didn't mind Odegaard coming on for Tull. But to me, our biggest problems this season have been in midfield. Whatever blend he's chosen, sometimes it's worked. Away to Man United and Man City, it works. But whatever blend he's chosen, and he repeats it, it hasn't been consistent enough. And games and won are lost in midfield. Because they've got to be the link with your defence and the link with your attack. And the reason our attack looks poor is because our midfield lacks cohesion. It's not working. And you see it. Bergvall, I thought, did all right yesterday. Not as bad as you thought, Al, but I thought he did all right. But the midfield three, they're playing as individuals. Mm-hmm. They're not playing as a unit and helping each other. So it's all disjointed. And their midfield, they won all the second balls. They were more tenacious in midfield. It was very scrappy, that game in parts, but they were winning the second balls. They wanted it more, and we didn't seem to cope for it. And when that's happening in the first half, for fuck's sake, Ange, why aren't you bringing on Sarr on? Because he's good at that. Then you'd have Sarr and Bergvall. You'd have someone to shore it up a bit better, you know. And then you bring Sarr on then, and you take Maddison off. I like Maddison. I think he's a wonderful player, but when it's a game where it's not working for him, he's not a dog of war who's going to dig you out of a fight. So you take him off. To me, Maddison should have come off at half-time, and Sarr was. It's either Sarr or Basuma has to come on, right? But you bring Sarr on because I'm done with Basuma. I'm just done with him, right? So, yeah. So you bring Sarr on. I'm going to have another rant later, right? 49 minutes. Bergvall shoots wide. 53 minutes. This is probably the 3 best chances they had. I mean, like, Vicario saves from Poco. Couldn't fault Vicario. We talk about individual performances out of this. 62 minutes. Bentancur booked. He now misses a return leg after gaining 3 yellow cards. Right.
And you knew he was going to get it. You knew he was going to get it.
Yeah. Well, there was. You've got Bentancur. There was a few of them on 2. Kulu didn't play. Bergvall was on 2 as well. Actually, he missed. This is the yellow card, but they're scrapped. There's a yellow card amnesty when you get the quarterfinals. So everyone should make the final, guys. Don't worry, we'll be at full strength when we get to the final, right? Right. Okay, now 72 minutes. Horror for you, doggy. Sarr for Maddison. This Sarr Maddison substitution come too late for me. We weren't in the game. If you like. It's 50-50 at half-time, or the home team's got the edge over you, 45-55 at 55 at half-time. Fine, stick with the players you've got. I've seen Ange, when I believe, got this wrong before. When he's made, I think Sarr should have come on much earlier, but that's only my opinion. And it's easy for me to say after the game, but even half-time, I thought, take Maddison off. This game doesn't suit him. It's not. I don't want to get rid of Maddison. Don't get me wrong, nothing like that. In case you're watching, David Clark. Then, that was that. 90 plus 2, Scarlett. At 90 minutes, we decided to play about 90 minutes because the last 5-7 minutes, we looked like, unless they were tiring, they're probably tiring, but because they put a lot of work in. Then 90 plus 5, Odegaard heads over from a Porro cross, and that was about it. But it was a very scrappy game, and they outmuscled us. Let's be fair.
Well, we had so few shots on goal.
If you want to be real basic and generic about it, I mean, it's really hard to win away in Europe. It wasn't a great performance. We didn't play well. They didn't particularly play well, and we managed to go home with still something to play for. I mean, there's nothing to suggest we can't. I mean, God, we should be able to just. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I mean, you would think we should be able to do them a couple of goals, 2-3 goals at home, and we should be through to the next round. I just.
Well,
I don't know. It's just
but shouldn't it have happened? It should have happened yesterday.
Well, yeah, every loss this year just seems to put everybody into some sort of meltdown. Yeah, it's just getting tiring, isn't it? But there's still all to play for. So
while you're there, Drew, then we'll go through the players now. We don't do player ratings in Spurs TTID, but we just discuss players' performances. I'll give you
Can I just give fives to everybody?
No, I don't do them numbers. Then people want to.
No, I don't. I mean, Vicario was actually all right. Yeah, Vicario actually wasn't too bad. I mean, he was doing, he did what was called of him. Made a couple of good saves. Could he have done something about the goal? Probably not really. It's just one of those angles where I think even if he'd have been standing there, I just think it might have looped over him. So I can't really complain too much. He's been great since he's come back from injury. And
what did you make of the incident at the end of the game, which the media like to blow everything out of fucking proportion, in my opinion?
I think it's bollocks. To be honest with you.
I agree. I totally agree.
I think, do you know what? I'm sick and tired of the media, and it just disgusts me. We had the issue with the Manchester United game, which I blew up about on a stream because I'm sitting there and Sky or whoever it was that was televising that game, whichever feed it was that I was watching over here in the States, they had the audacity to bring up the Manchester United bench that was full of kids because they were having an injury crisis. And they had the audacity to sit there and list off all of these 18, 19-year-olds while not giving a flying fuck about the fact that we've been through the mud since December. So I can't stand the media anyway. And then you've got this narrative that all Ange does is stand there with his hands in his pockets. And that's categorically not true. Like, I know people that go to games that see him animated, and yet the media have now taken it upon themselves to never show him animated, only ever show him standing there with his hands in his pockets. So honestly, as a big fat middle finger,
does it make anyway? You can be demonstrative, like.
Well, this is true. This is true.
The only time he's going to influence things if he goes to the touchline, pulls his captain over or pulls a player over. But if he thinks, I'm not going to, I'll let the players play through this bit and see how we go from there, then he's going to do. That doesn't bother me one way or another, whether a manager runs around waving his arms or not,
I'll be honest with you, Adrian. I'm with you, mate. I'm not really too fussed because there's only so many messages that you can get across to them. But it's just the fact that the media almost seem to be going out their way to show him just standing there. Like, I've not seen him once show him going on absolutely having a mare. And there have been times where he's been, and it's just that, the point is just they just pick and choose what they want to show, right? So I don't know. I've got very little time for the media when it comes to this sort of thing.
Exactly the same. I think that there's a proportion of them that are just a bunch of fucking scumbags, in my opinion, right? Gang, pick one of these, Udogie and Spence.
Maybe I'd give Udogie a 6. I think he did okay, but going forward, I think he needs to step up, especially if he's to contribute down that left. Honestly, if you are to rely on Son alone down that left, I think it's going to be yet another dismal end to the season. And as much as I preferred Spence on the left and having Porro on the right, I think that this combination of Udogie on the left, Spence on the right should be how we should line up next season, assuming they are still both here with us when the start of next season is concerned. But I think Udogie did okay, Spence did okay himself, but both of them didn't really contribute much going forward. They did keep us in the tie. They did try and do their best to nullify their threat out wide. But yeah, I think a lot has to improve with them both. I mean, if there is a bright spark, I think you could say that Spence was maybe one of the better performers on the evening before the final whistle. And yeah, I think Spence.
Sorry, Chang, does anyone, or do you, Chang, anyone think Spence is actually a better left back than he is right back in
Okay,
this system because of the inversion?
that actually depends. That actually depends on the opposition. And
Right.
the reason why I say this is because Spence actually does enjoy a lot more freedom down that left going forward when teams are not set up to counter us when we try to invert or when we try to overlap. And I have seen Spence and Son really tear it up. I think the Ipswich game, was it Ipswich? No, not Ipswich. The United game. The United game was one that really interested me before Udogi came back. So in a way, I think this is where Big Ange really has to earn his keep as far as being a manager and selecting players is concerned. Against certain teams, certain opposition that's set up in a different way, Spence actually does a lot of damage down that left, more so on the right. And if you were to go gung ho just for goals, I honestly feel that Spence on the left and Poro on the right would give us maximum efficiency inverting and overlapping. But yesterday against Alkmaar, I think Spence was better suited on the right because if it was Poro starting, I am quite sure we would have conceded more than just the one, and we would have been overloaded. And I think, in retrospect, maybe that's why Spence was preferred on the right yesterday over Poro. But we might see something different come Sunday against Bournemouth. But other than that, my take on Udogi and Spence, Udogi did okay, has to step up. Spence did okay himself, should be able to maintain his form going into Sunday. But I think, Mr. Drew, this is where you might see Spence come in at left back on Sunday against Bournemouth, and Poro is then reinstated at right back against Bournemouth. Having said that, back to you, Mr. Stroker.
Alan, Spence for you. I mean, he's a luxury. He's one player where Ange's got options because he can start you doggy on the left and Spence on right, and then he can bring Porro on and switch Spence to the left, which he has done. He has actually done that, hasn't he? So, and he does
yeah.
look a fine player. To think, is it Genoa could have bought him for 8.5 million. Now he looks like a 50 million pound player. You know.
He does. He's one of the few players that I actually thought did okay in the game. I prefer him on the left only because on the right, Spence is good going forward, and the problem is Johnson doesn't tend to track back and cover him, and so he's got to do a lot of running, and that was a problem yesterday. I prefer him on the left because Sun does track back, and the two of them do a lot of they can overlap, and they do that on the left hand side where I didn't see them doing that on the right hand side. But I think Spence continues to show that he is someone that can fight for the starting spot, either on the right or the left.
Yeah.
Whereas with Udogi, I think personally, I think Udogi was terrible yesterday. I thought that he did not have as good a game, and could have come out sooner. To be honest, I think he just wasn't. They were getting joy down his side.
Yeah, okay. Chang's got another 5 minutes, so I'll come to him with this banner. Pick one of these, Chang, and then I'll come back to Drew, as you got to go.
Okay, if I had to pick one, I'd say Bergval. That's what I pick from this list. If building around a midfielder is concerned, if trying to sort of build on future squads and build around a midfielder, I would build around Bergval. I would choose him. Not to say that Bentancur or Maddison are any less of a midfielder than him. But if there was one player whom I felt, despite putting the ball in the back of his own net yesterday evening, still tried his utmost best to try and orchestrate something in midfield, try to G up the players and try to affect play around him, it was Bergvall, because I honestly didn't see enough from Maddison and Bentancur to instill me with any confidence that anything will be any better if this same trio were to take to the pitch for the second leg, which fortunately, because of Bentancur's suspension, it means that Big Angel's hand is now forced and that he now has to tinker with that midfield. But for me, that second leg, I would choose Bergvall over Maddison. And hopefully by then, we would see Kulusevski back. We could actually end up with a midfield trio of Bergvall, Kulusevski, if he returns fit and firing after the international break, and possibly Pepe Matasar as our midfield trio. That would be my midfield trio for the second leg. And let's just see what happens on Sunday against Bournemouth. But yeah, to answer you there, Mr. Stroker, if I had to pick one of those trio, it would be Bergvall.
Right, okay. Drew, are you back yet? No? Right, okay. All
Yes,
right.
I'm back.
You get Bentancur on Maddison.
But do you need to head off, Chang, or you good?
Yeah, he needs to go.
In about another 2 minutes, I have another 2 minutes left, so yeah, I can still hang for a short while.
I'm gonna I'll tell you what, I'll go for Bergvall, my friend. No, sorry, I'll go for Bentancur, my mate, who I just think is just, I don't know what he is. I don't like this season. I know what he is. I know what he does. I know what he's capable of. This season, I'm so frustrated with him. And my frustration is born out of the fact that I keep on being told he's our most skillful midfielder. He won 3 Scudettos with Juventus. More and more I look at him, the more and more I think, well, he's just one of those players. I mean, he was going to win a Scudetto with Juventus regardless. Like, he's not the reason they won 3 Scudettos. And that was kind of what I was sold on previously with Bentancur. Oh, you know, if you want to get rid of him, you must be insane. He's our best. And I don't know. Maybe it's Ange, mate. Like, yeah, so folk off here. He's gotten worse. I just don't get it with him. I really don't. And like, he lost his head again last night. I know he's getting frustrated. Everybody's getting frustrated. I'm frustrated. But what you don't want from your, you know, one of your more senior players, or, you know, supposed to be in this bloody, what is it, this fucking group that they've got, which I still think is pointless. What is it? We're the only team that I ever hear of where we've got a group of players that are just like, I don't know, it's like the Knights of the Round Table. I mean, what do they do?
Leadership group.
Oh, fuck off, leadership group. They couldn't lead a fucking dog round a park at this point.
Yeah,
I'm sick of it. Sick of it. Like, yeah, sorry. Now you got me ranting, Adrian.
You mean saying that this is a wake-up call?
We're venting our spleens here, which is pretty good, right? Chang, thanks for coming on. You're always welcome on the Friday shows. You know that.
Yeah, thank you, Chang. Really appreciate you, mate.
Great to see you, dude.
And,
have a fantastic weekend, everybody. It's been a pleasure. I hopefully come. I really do. I was actually hoping to stay on a lot longer on Friday shows at the beginning of March, but today is a bit of a strange one because it's the start of the fasting month of Ramadan for the Muslims, so I have to cover for them. But once I get my setup here underway, and once I get to grips with their fasting schedule.
Our clocks go forward. I'm not sure when our clocks go forward, but when they go forward
Saturday night. Yeah.
If they go forward, then I will have at least 2 hours instead
you'll
of.
You'll have for a period, unless I don't know when your clocks change or when they change in Canada or America, but I know they do, and then they revert back to normal. But there is a little window of opportunity when we're in out. Although we're starting at 10 o'clock here, we'll be starting at 11 o'clock. Because it'll still be 10 o'clock here, but we'll be an hour forward, So
so looking forward to that as well. Thank you very
much. We want to attract.
Take care, Mr. Chang.
I'll see you all very soon. Okay. Let's hope for something better against Bournemouth. If you are doing something on Sunday, and there is another show.
Ian will have a show Sunday. I don't know what he's doing at the moment.
Sure. So
I
with
think
that,
he's in Spain at the moment. He's always travelling. He's got enough air miles to go to the moon and back.
See you, buddy.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Little plug for the channel, worry guys. Those are the viewers. We've got 20 of you viewing the channel now. It's Friday. It's late in the UK. That might be the reason, but the idea is to try and attract people from different time zones. It'll be a bit more favourable for them to come on. If you like our shows, please give them the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and spread the word, guys. Spread the word about us. Okay. Right. With that, I'll move on to these three. I'll take Maddison. I really like the player. I want to see him here next year. I think he will be. I mean, but you could make a case for Maddison, Bentancur, who I like as well, and Basuma, who I don't like, right? You know, they may not, one or more of them may not be with us after next season. I hope the first one out the door is Basuma. I'll take Maddison. When he's good, he's very good. And all the players say he's the most skillful player at the club. I can believe that. Yesterday, because we're struggling, he was coming back to receive the ball too much, try and get it. And you sort of know when a game's not going to suit Maddison. This is why I thought Ange would take him off at half time, but we don't know the situation in there, you know, with the players and all that, and whether whoever's doing.
Do you think he doesn't take him off? Because I mean, let's be honest. If you take Maddison off, then I mean, not that he was being particularly creative, but you've taken all your creativity off at that point. Because I just don't see. I mean, Bergvall, as you know, he huffs and puffs and he's good and he ball carries and he can play. You know, he plays the ball off nicely to people, but I've not seen him do a killer pass or anything like that. We didn't have Porro on, and Tell's struggling to be the target man. You've got Son, who I thought had minutes in his legs again, and then last night plays like that. I can see why he kept him on, because I think he was just hoping for something, you know.
Well, it's an away game, and at times when you realise it isn't going your way, you have to beef up the midfield, in my opinion. And we might have lacked creativity, but we never looked like scoring anyway. So beef the midfield up. But as it happens, we came away with a 1-0 deficit, which was a positive, because it could have been 2 or 3 if Parrott put that chance away. And they only had 2 other good chances. Right. They weren't that good, but they were tenacious and they were dogged and they were winning the second balls. I mean, they weren't that great, and that's why we can have the hump about and not at least coming away with a draw. I mean, I expected a draw minimum.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Alan, pick one.
Son, I think Son had a subpar game, and I was particularly frustrated actually with his after game interview, where he was saying that this is a wake up call. Because I'm frustrated because that 18 losses in all competitions shouldn't be the wake up call, right?
It takes 18, Alan. It takes 18 for there to be the wake up call, right?
18 is not the time. To me, if that is what he truly believes, then I question his ability to be our captain, because the wake up call should have been many losses ago. And I understand this is one of 2 games, but we should be winning this game. I mean, Alkmaar didn't do anything that I think we haven't defeated before. We've played with weaker teams and done more. So I've just overall, I think Son. I don't know. It's so frustrating, because I love the guy. I love the service that he's brought to this team. And it's not like he hasn't scored goals. He scores goals and he's put in assists. But that's not just what we need from Heung-min Son. We need a leader, and I think that was sorely missed. We needed a rabble rouser. We need someone that was going to get them. I can imagine like a Virgil van Dijk, who can just get the team up, and start getting to the crowd to do something, not waiting. I know Vicario kind of waited till after the game to try to start rousing the away stand, but maybe do something during the middle of the game and really try to get the team up. It didn't happen.
I have a bit of sympathy with the front three. I'm not going to praise any of them, but when you look at the fact when you Doggy or Spencer's on the left, right, left back, and getting forward, and Madison's centre left the way he plays, and they're pushing up the field, then Son gets played in, and that's when you see him have his best games, and you get overloads on the left wing, which you don't get on the right. Because Porro doesn't overload when he's playing with Johnson. So Johnson's isolated. So I see that. I'm still getting my head around all this, right? But on the left, when we've seen Sonny do well, like he did Ipswich, things like that, it's when that works, that left back, Madison, Son. When that combination works in overloads and all that, he has a good game. But then we had long balls hit by Archie Gray that put him in, and Bentancur coming in against Ipswich as well, put a lovely threaded ball through. So, but this don't happen. It's like you can say it's down to him, you can say he's not getting the service, but to me, what service did the front three get?
No, well, you're right. They didn't. They didn't get a lot of service. But
everything points to the midfield to me, and when it's going wrong, beef it up.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
If people don't like Sarr, fair enough. But we only had a choice of really Sarr and Basuma on the bench, right? And I'd take Sarr to dig us out of a fight more than I would Basuma. So that doesn't happen. So that's me, like with Madison on the front three. Drew, your take on all three of them, really? You can do all three.
I mean, you do make a point. The front three are only as good as the service, and our midfield were too busy chasing shadows and just I don't know what they were doing in there. I mean, my issue with Johnson is I think the same as everybody's issue with Johnson. I just don't think you get. I mean, aside from the goals, you just don't get anything else.
14 goals and 3 assists.
I know. That being said, I did say last season. I did say last season or the pre-season that he needed to better his numbers, and that would be a good season. So I can't knock. Yeah, exactly. So I can't knock him for that. I mean, we were saying at the beginning of the season, and there were a lot of people saying that Bergvall was terrible. And then there were other people saying, I think his previous coaches said, you need to give him 6 months and he'll start to show what he's about. Whether we've got time, whether we had time to be able to give Tell 6 months to be able to figure him out, I don't know. I think we probably should have gone for somebody that had a little bit more about him, but it is what it is now. Based on what I've seen so far, I'm trying not to be harsh on the kid, but I don't see yet a £60 million forward.
Don't see 60 quid, let alone 60 million.
Yeah, right. I mean, I've seen him, the highlight reels on YouTube, but I mean, highlight reels on YouTube can make me look pretty good. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Son, I think, who was it? Fokov says it in there. It was all set up for Son to do well, extra rest, did nothing. And we were all saying, if he started getting rest, he'd be a good player, 60, 70 minutes, all right, we understand he can't do 90 minutes anymore, but at least you give him a rest, you put him out there. But, he's now trying to, I guess, if you want to try and be objective, which I do like to try and do, like you say, he wasn't being fed by the midfield. He's got a 19-year-old that was being bullied in the centre. Arguably, if you've got a fit and firing Solanke in there, and maybe a midfield that knows what they're doing. I think the problem with Sonny is that you can tell he wears it on himself. He's clearly, I don't think he should be the captain. I think he should have been just left to do his thing. I think it's too much pressure for him, especially when you consider that half the reason Sonny was as good as he used to be was because he had Kane. So not only have we taken, it's almost like we've taken his right leg away from him, and we've put more pressure on him to deliver when the guy that was helping him deliver before has just been sold. So I just think it's a lot for him, and I just, he's a player.
I'm not one for leaders and captains in the modern game. They're just PR guys, really, because that's the way the games are. You know, football's big business, and you want someone who can front up in front of the cameras for your sponsors and stuff like that.
Right.
My attitude is with players, I don't think it makes any difference. The fat cats now, they're all virtually millionaires with a contract, and some lose their hunger. And to me, you shouldn't need a captain on a football field. If you can't motivate yourself on the football field, get out of my fucking club. Get out now. Get out. No, I mean it as well.
But you still do need some form of conductor, right? You know, you do need somebody on the pitch, I think. And this is why I don't, you call for leaders, and I know you need leaders everywhere, but you've got to have, in my opinion, you've got to have some sort of hierarchy. Like I'm not a fan of
He in a way leads by example, doesn't he, with his performances? Yeah. That's what you want. You just want players to put in performances in, right?
Right.
But you need a player that consistently puts in performances like De Gea, because he's captain of Sweden now, to make them a captain. Now, or a voice amongst them. So you've got Vicario, really, and you've got Decky.
Right.
Yeah, you've got Maddison, Son, Romero, probably because he speaks Spanish and he got a language thing. So I get that. You know, I don't mind Romero being part of the group.
I just think it's
Maddison,
all. I think
he doesn't dig you out of a hole. He's not he's not captain material.
No,
you know, Son, not really. But and usually he's probably the oldest player at the club. I don't know. So like in the squad. So I get it. But then like you can have a different title for someone like Son. You know, some sort of ambassador or something as well.
I don't know. I just think I should just say. I think people go on about him and Salah and always wanting to compare. The one thing that he should have been done, like Salah, he should have just been allowed to just get on with it. Just do your thing on the left wing. Just don't worry about anything else. But yeah, I just think it's too much pressure. I think somebody mentioned in the chat that he looks like he's mentally broken or something, and I can, you can see it. And just another thing, just to pick up on what Alan said as well, where he comes out and he says, "Oh, this is a wake-up call." Do you know what I get sick of? I don't know any other club where players come out after a game and apologise as much as Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I really don't.
Yeah.
And I know it's because I follow Tottenham, so I see more Tottenham news than I see any other team's news. But I'm sure I would read about it if Liverpool players or Arsenal players or Man United players were coming out apologising every time they took a sucker punch or a loss. And I'm just getting sick of it. And it does say it's not just.
And Drew, it's like political spin. We must do better. We must improve. We must work hard. We must do this. We don't fucking do it. You know what I mean? Because we're pissed off with hearing all these lame ass excuses, right? You're the players. I critique Ange yesterday. I thought he got subs wrong, right? I critique him for taking players and in the squad like VDV and Romero and not even giving them half hour each. You know, because why are you taking them? If they're not ready, why are you taking them? So I critique him for that, right? But the performance on the pitch, Ange's not taking all the stick for this. Them players, they either really aren't good enough, right? Or it's a mental thing with them. They can't fucking motivate them, or they're not up for a fight. And no matter how skillful you are, if you're not up for a fight and you're in a position where you should do it, but funnily enough, their defence is not the main problem. To me, it's been in the midfield for ages. Yeah. For ages. Whatever midfield we've had, it's been. When we had to bring Højbjerg on when we were in trouble and stuff like that, and he's helped steady the ship at times, right? And this is why we need to bring in, I mean, when all the defenders are fit, we'll come on to that, but, we need to bring in at least one dogged midfielder. Probably will be Johnny Cardoso because he's a cheap deal to do and he's playing ever so well. He bossed the game against Real Madrid recently, so he looks like he's grown. Looks like it'd be him to go with Archie Gray in midfield eventually, because Gray's not, unless we get serious injury problems, Gray's not playing at fullback or centre back for this club. I don't see it. Especially with even Porro, Spence and Udogie fit. And Udogie, he's been steady since he's come back, but it's taken him time, and we're expecting the other players, they're fit now, to come in and hit the ground running. Yeah. I mean, do we expect, even if This is why I wanted Romero to get a half hour yesterday on VDV, just to get something in your legs to see if you're up for it. But Ange was cautious. I mean, he's had to batten down the hashes. He's taking bullets from all directions, right? And most of them are probably justified, right? But like, he's not totally to fucking blame for this, right? I mean, so the players, and because you couldn't say yesterday it was down to tactics. We were pushed back. It wasn't high line. We were pushed back for most of the game. It wasn't tactics. So, but I just think, okay, the team, all right. I think we all probably queried Tell, but he obviously sees something in the training, doesn't he? To keep playing him, and we know as a youth player he's great. But then you've got to consider that, well, if you're got him on a $5 million loan and you're going to play a total of $50 million for him or higher by the time the season comes in, and he ain't doing the business, then you can go and get another oven-ready striker in for that amount of money, or even less if you just want to fill gaps. Because so yeah. So Ange's game management, I think he's under pressure. I think the team he selected was because of the pressure he's under, and he was a bit more conservative than usual going away. I think he'd been quite happy with the draw when we'd wanted to win. And actually, I think deep down he's probably satisfied. Well, not satisfied, but worst case scenario, you take a 1-0 defeat. I think that was it, to be honest with you. Any got comments on Ange's game management? And we move on with preview Bournemouth.
Yeah, we'll just preview. I'll tell you what, just quickly, because we got a question from Fokoff in the chat and then a follow-up, because this was funny.
We like questions from the chat. Sorry,
so if we lose the next 2 games, will you fellas change to Ange out? And then Forsaken Leader just follows up with, are these Ange in? I'll just quickly, do you know what? I'm not in or out. I don't do this hokey pokey crap. I want my club to do well. So if the manager isn't doing well and he has to get the sack, then so be it. But I don't really sit here with my pitchfork saying I want this man gone, because that's an indication that we're shit, and I don't want to be shit. So if it happens, it happens. I don't actively want anybody to lose their job, and that maybe sounds a little bit fucking lefty because I'm. But I don't know. I want us to do well, and I want it to work. I wish he would change a little bit. I wish he'd be less prickly in press conferences, but he gets asked some really stupid fucking questions by some of these idiot journos. I want it to work because I'm so sick of it not working. And I've been on record as saying that if I saw progression, then I'd give him the rest of his contract, because if you take into consideration the fact that most of the time nowadays coaches, only get 18 months anyway, then if you sack him now, you're just going to give somebody another 18 months to try and do something that we get pissed off at because it doesn't quite work. And we'll just be in this perpetual cycle of shit. So on the one hand, I'd like to see some sort of progression, and I'd like to see it work. But if he's got to go, he's got to go. But I'm not actively going to sit here and say Ange in, Ange out. I don't play those games. But big up.
I'll play that game for sake, and I'm fully Ange in. And the reason is for part of what Drew's just said. I mean, I'm a bit older than you guys. I'm 70 years of age, and I watched the double side play. And my Spurs core has always been like with fans when we're brought up with. You all supported all the managers, and there's a lot I didn't like, right, that we've had. You all supported all the players while they're at the club. When they left, you wished them well, thank you for your service, goodbye. Never changed that way. I'm Ange in, but it's not because I'm defending him because I think he's the best thing since sliced bread. I'd like to see what he could do with a fully fit squad. I mean, last year we finished 5th with a lot less injuries than we had now. We lost Harry Kane, we lost Basuma to 3 suspensions, we lost Romero to a suspension. We had Madison, VDV, and Bentancur were injured. We'd lost them. Players went away on international duty. We finished 5th, and with a win or two, we could have finished 3rd last season. So, yeah, and we've only been beaten by 1 goal by most teams, apart from the thrashing by Liverpool at home 6-3. I mean, so I'd like to see that. I think he's been dealt a very, very, bad hand, Ange. You couldn't have that much bad luck as a manager with injuries, and it's not the system. Because when people say about it, it isn't, because there's only been about 4 of them that have been hamstring injuries. There's been muscle injuries, ankle injuries, knee injuries, things like that. So it's just you always find during a season, one team really goes through it, and this season it appears to be us. We went through it last season, but nowhere near as bad as this season, in my opinion. I don't want him to go. I don't, like Drew alluded to. Do you really want another reset and have to start over with someone else? This is why I don't think the board will sack him. I said it before we won them 3 league games out of the last 4. I said it before. They won't sack him even if we go out the cups, because you've got no ready-made replacement. Then you've got to go back and appoint the coaches to take their place. I don't think it's happening with this amount of games to go, but I could be totally wrong. I mean, like Levy could pull the trigger tomorrow. You know what I mean? So, and then you've got to consider that fact: is Levy going to pull the trigger when all the pressure then is on him? All the fingers out there point at him. He's the hub in the wheel where all the spokes point to: the media, the fan base, sponsors. Everything else points to them. What are you doing? We're sponsoring your football club. It's fucking shambles. We're losing customers or shit like that. There are multiple reasons why I think Levy won't do it, because there's no one between Ange and him that can take the flak. Scotland's not going to take it, so I don't see it happening. So I am Ange. I do like the guy, and I really hope he can improve things for the season. I mean, I had a tenner on us winning Europa League at 9-2, so we're not out of that. It's only 1 goal. It's only 1 goal. I mean, the way we play, we could be 4 up at half time in a return leg.
We could.
Yeah. Alan, are you in or out, or you doing the okie cokey, 1 foot in and 1 foot out?
I'm not really. I'm not necessarily Ange out, because I think it's very disruptive to the season to terminate a head coach midway through the season. I think the level of disruption, probably, if I had to look up the statistics, I doubt that they're out there, but I got to imagine that in a majority of situations, you don't get that manager bounce that everyone assumes you get. I'm sure for every time there was a manager bounce, there wasn't a manager bounce at another team.
Yeah.
So
I think
the
Athletic, I think they actually did a piece on it a couple of months, like 6 months or so back, doing the myth of a manager bounce, and it is one of those things, like it kind of evens out, and it really is a much of a muchness. So
I got to imagine. So I over the last, was it 18 months? How long has it been with Ange? 16 months. And I don't know that I actually like Ange. I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not sure that I actually like Ange. I don't know. I don't like how prickly he is with the press. I think that the journalists are afraid to ask him a lot of questions, because he's so prickly that if you don't ask questions in a very specific way, but at the same time, these guys have jobs to do, and so they're just trying to do their job. And I know
Folk Officer says Journo's job's to wind up the manager and try and get a reaction. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
nowadays,
or
right?
trip them up, or trip them up. This is what I don't.
Or trip them up. Yeah. I got your moment, right? But that unfortunately that may just come with the territory, and he is the manager of a Premier League club. Maybe suck it up a little bit, and you got to expect, if you've already got a pretty thick skin, which I imagine he has to at that level. They all should have relatively thick skins. He could be a little bit better with the press. I think it wouldn't hurt him to be better with the press, especially considering how under a microscope he is.
Well, do you want him to come in full of smiles after a defeat then?
Well, no, certainly not. And I'm okay with the emotion. I'm actually, again, I'm cool with showing the emotion. I just think that even when we win, he tends to be prickly. And he says weird things. I'm not sure how much I enjoyed, as much as I don't like Timo Werner. I wasn't impressed with how he threw Timo under the bus. That was a low point.
Yeah, that wasn't good. That wasn't good.
That was not so good. It was a low point for me. And I guess, and I'm trying to think, even if we were to win Europa, let's say we win Europa, which qualifies us for Champions League, how would we do with this squad? How would we do next season?
We'd play 8 games and go out the competition.
Right.
Simple. But we'd earn a lot of money for leaving,
We would earn a lot of money. Right. So if we win Europa, I would imagine that Ange will have successfully navigated the choppy waters of all of the injuries and whatnot by winning Europa. I think because he gets some Champions League, I think that's all that Levy cares about. And yeah, the sun. This is the sun. Yes. During the day,
if this guy wins Europa
out in
League,
North London the other day, and people were reporting UFOs.
if this guy wins the Europa League, he's our most successful manager in 18 years or something stupid like that. You got to give him another season.
He's going to get. He's definitely going to get. I just don't know that. Again, it's not that I dislike the guy. When I say don't like him, I don't like him as our manager. I don't dislike the guy personally. I just think that I think his ideas for what makes sense, I haven't been able to reconcile yet. And I don't like. I guess it's a fan's prerogative to want your team to win. I don't know that I have to be super patient because I'm not making any money off of this. If I'm going to spend the time to watch a game, I want to see the best that the team can put forth. I haven't seen that at minimum 18 games. There's some games we won, we kind of scummed wins, and I don't know that there are certain games I don't know if we deserve, but we did it, and that's all we'll remember is that we won. But I'm not sold on Ange. I'm just not sold on him. But I back the manager because again, I if we're going to get rid of them in the summertime. At least they have time to have a summer transfer window for the new person or whatnot. And you, Adrian, you asked about Levy. Will Levy pull the trigger? Only if he has a replacement in the chamber. I think unless he's not going to go on a search like he did after Stellini Mason, there's not going to be like a search. I don't think, because I don't think Levy wants to weather the negative publicity for how long it would take him to find a replacement for Ange. Because I think
there are 2 pairs. I mean, you got Milo Jedinak who came from Villa, where Lange was but he's the odd one out. You got Rob Birch, the goalkeeping coach, but then you've got Matty Wells, ex-Spurs player, and Ryan Mason, ex-Spurs players. And Matty Wells is an assistant head coach, so he should be off because Mason was going to take over a Belgian club pre-season, but it didn't work out. That would have pleased Levy, get him off the wage bill. And then you've got Nick Montgomery and Serge Raimondo. Well, they had success in Australia, and then they came back to Scotland and managed to burn him and got the sack. But those 2 also managed the Scottish under-1s, highly rated. Now, they may not have won nothing. Jose always goes on and said, all their coaches are crap. Well, I don't think there's enough. We haven't seen enough detail. He said he's checked their stats. They're rubbish. But they wouldn't have got a job at Spurs if there wasn't something about them that the recruiting team at Spurs, Scott Munn and all that, didn't think they were capable. They didn't come with good rep. They may not have won anything wherever they've been or not, or they may have gone close. I mean, I don't know what they did in Australia. So you've got 2 pairs there that could take over. Those 2 have worked together, like I say, with a few teams. And they're supposed to be highly rated. So, which I mean, I'm baffled with some of their set pieces and things like that. It just drives me nuts. Their corners. Baff about with that corny, that free kick yesterday. Have a fucking shot. What is wrong, actually? I'm going to go on a rant. What is actually wrong when we get a free kick just on the halfway line, and if Everton do it, Pickford to come and launch one into the penalty area? What is wrong with us doing that? You might get a silly missed header from a defender and whatever, and get a chance to score a goal. What is wrong? we had, like, I'll give you the stats in a minute. We had so much of the ball yesterday, you won't believe it, right? Well, no, I'll do it now. Yeah, right. Because it's a good way to have a rant, right? So, right. Yesterday, we did the eye test, and we all watched the game, right? Or on playback. You wouldn't believe this. They had 39% possession to our 61%. That's incredible, isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't think that. Jules won. Shots on target, they had 5, we had 1. Yeah, believable. Jules won, right? I'm just getting off the phone here now. 45% they won, and we won 55% of the duels. In midfield, are you having a laugh with me? They won every second ball virtually. 14 fouls to our 12. They had 12. They had 12 total shots to our 7. I don't recall us having 7 shots. They had 5 shots on target to our 1. Yeah. 42% shot accuracy to our 14. They had 3 block shots. We had 2. No shots on the bar. Shots inside the box. They had 11. We had 1. Corners, they had 7 to our 2. Yeah. Offside, they had 1. They had 30 tackles to our 19. They won. And this is it. They had won 50% of their tackles. We won 42%. That's a bit more like it. Bit generous to us. They had 18 clearances to our 39, 6 interceptions to our 9. Aerial duels, they won 43% to our 57. Yeah, because we were defended all the time, yeah? And like total passes, they had 357. Get this, to our 581. You couldn't make that up, could you, when you watched that game? They had a 74% pass accuracy. Our pass accuracy was 87%. I'm reading this isn't a different game, guys. I'm reading this
Are you
Jesus.
sure? Are you sure
This
this
is why the
isn't the
stats
first
don't-
time we played RZ?
This is why I'm an
Yeah.
eye test merchant. We were
Yeah.
crap, right? Simple.
Total
But,
crap.
like, they had 65% pass accuracy to our 83%. Well, you can tap it around in the back 4, can't you, for an hour if you like.
Right.
They had 14 total cross to us. They had 36% cross to our 30%. Did we have any crosses? I mean, like 14 fouls.
Did we?
They had 3 yellow cards to our 1, and that's it. I mean, if you looked at the stats, and I've got these from One Football, right, and they're the same. It's the same stats you'll see on Sky and everywhere else, right? They're all taken from the same source, right? Probably Opta stats or something like that. Yeah. So the stats, I mean, they're just mad, right?
Most of the possession was in our own half.
Exactly, Pilch. Exactly. I couldn't agree more, mate. Couldn't agree more. Let's move on to. Let's preview Bournemouth at home, right? Sunday. It don't take long to go through the squads, actually. Alan, who's starting out of these two? Austin's won't be on the bench because we only got 9 subs for that instead of 12.
Definitely Vicario.
Yeah,
Right.
I start Vicario.
Yeah, it's got to be, isn't it?
This is where it gets a bit interesting, though.
I do Spence
Again.
on the left and Porro on the right.
Yeah, I could see that. That would be my preference. Even though, again, I'm all this time later, I'm still not sold as Porro is in the position he's in. But
I'm going to disagree. Yeah. I'm going to go you doggy Spence because I just think Spence gives you a bit more defensive cover. And Bournemouth doing okay. I mean, they've lost 3 out of their last 4, but they're above us in the league, so
by quite a distance.
Here is where it gets really interesting at centre back. Davies, VDV, Gray, Romero, and Dancer. I expect them all to be. Well, we know they're all fit. Davies might be a slight doubt about him, but I think he's back as well.
Ange said that. I thought Ange in an interview was saying that he didn't know Davies' status because I think he. Yeah, I don't think Davies is going to play. Would be my guess. I would love to see.
I think it's unlikely he would start out of those 5 anyway.
Yeah. Danzo's played a bunch of games in a row. I could see him sitting and maybe have Romero, Gray, or VDV and Gray. I mean, you could have both VDV and Romero. That would be ideal. Hopefully the pitch is to Ange's liking. so he doesn't sit them again.
Sorry.
Let's they played American football on it, right? So
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Oh, sorry, that really tickled me. That was great. Brilliant. Oh shit! I've got a feeling. Do you know what? I could see him sticking with Danzo. Maybe doing Danzo Romero first half, and then Romero.
Mhm.
I don't know. Probably maybe introducing VDV second half, something like that. I mean, he might just say bollocks. Let's just go both of them from the start, and we might just get our tried and tested VDV Romero axis back. I'm
well,
not
that
sure.
training the other
I
day.
think it
when
would
he
be
had
a bit unfair
yeah,
on Dan. It's a bit unfair on Danzo because I think he's done well.
Yeah.
He's done well enough not to be dropped
yeah.
necessarily.
I think Ange hasn't got an excuse for not playing one of VDD Romero after saying he didn't play him because of the pitch. And
Right.
Danzo's done nothing wrong, and he's a bit nippy. He's a bit nippy. You guys know my thought on Romero. He's my first pick if they're all fit. So I picked Romero. And as Danzo did play on the left with Romero, but they went out there and didn't play, I think we might well see a Danzo Romero on the right, Danzo on the left. As they've done that in training already. So, having said that, he'd probably pick VDV and Gray. You know what I mean? But no, I don't think you do that. But, I mean, Gray's done nothing wrong, but it might be I know it's Bournemouth, and now this is where look, Ainsworth wasn't frightened to take risk when he wasn't under so much pressure. You know, when he played Johnson, gave him his debut away to Arsenal in all games, and he's done it with other players as well, young players when he's brought them in. So, yeah, that's so it's centre back. I'm going to go Romero Danzo. What are you guys doing before we go?
Yeah, I'll do Romero Danzo.
I like it. Romero Danzo, I think, is good.
This is where it gets tricky because I don't know how badly injured Kula is, but he's probably not.
He's out. He's out till I mean they said a couple of months, so not before the international break.
Right. Okay. I'll just take him off the list.
There's another one of those. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the 21st. Yeah, so that also may help because those that stay at the training ground, he'll be able to work with them. Right. Okay. So midfield guys.
Good Lord. I would go Madison.
Mm-hmm.
I would go. Bergvall had such a dog shit game.
Well, just to throw a little bit to influence your minds, Bentancur's banned for Thursday because he got the yellow card.
Yeah. So maybe Madison, Sarr. I wouldn't put. Gray hasn't played there. I would love to start to play Gray. I just don't know in this kind of game against this team. I would probably go Sarr, Madison, and Bergvall.
I wouldn't. I'd just change that a bit. I'm playing Bentancur because he's not playing Thursday. What are you doing, Drew?
You know what? As frustrated as I am with Basuma, Bentancur, and Madison, I would honestly just say Gray, Sarr, and Bergvall, but it just doesn't work. So I'm gonna say, I'd like to see Gray at the 6. I just don't know if he's going to do it right out the gate. If he's not going to play him, I don't know. I don't know. Do you know, I can see him doing Bentancur, Bergvall, and Madison again. I think he's definitely going to play Bentancur because Bentancur doesn't, he can't play next Thursday, right? So I think he's probably going to make the most out of that and just have him play again today, Sunday. So, yeah, I could see it being that. That being said, I do think Gray's long-term position is in the 6. So
I could also see if it isn't those 3 again, if he wasn't happy with them, I could see Sarr taking Bergvall's place and him going Sarr, Bentancur, Madison. I don't think Basuma starts this game. Basuma only comes on if we're winning, basically. That's a lower rating. But yeah, Bentancur, he could go Bentancur, Sarr, Madison, or Bergvall's done well recently. But it's there's just no cohesion in the midfield. They play like 3 different individuals, like I said earlier. And like Bergvall just go off and I like it when he goes forward and he wants to go forward and all this time. But what's the IQ of the other midfielders around him? You know,
Right.
if he goes forward and loses the ball, Madison's up there. Then they've got one man defending the ship, which would be Bentancur probably.
Mm-hmm.
We're at home and we need the win, and the most attacking lineup would be Bentancur, Bergvall, and Madison, and it's still Bentancur and Bergvall still give you a bit of doggedness in midfield. We're not away. I think it'll be those three again, Drew. I think I'll agree with you. I think that'll be the same.
Yeah.
The only change I see is Sarr. I could see. I mean, and Sarr.
I don't know what the deal is recently. Sarr seems to. I don't know. He seems to have gone down the pecking order a little bit. He just doesn't seem.
He was our best midfielder last year. Bear in mind that Madison was out injured, you know, and Basuma had 3 suspensions and like. Yeah, that is a point because we're missing Kulu now.
Yep.
You say that though, if Jamie Donnelly was in that team, I mean, but that's another story. Right. So that's I could see Sarr coming on anyway. He'll get game time. He's a patient lad. I like the player. People say he just runs about. No. He slipped that ball through. He scored against Man City, right? When we knocked him out of the League Cup. And he scored and he pushed the ball through for Son when we played West Ham at home, wasn't it? Or Everton at home, and he pushed it through just inside the halfway line. A good 20-yard pass, and like Sonny ran on and scored the 3rd or 4th goal against either West Ham or Everton, I forget now. This gets interesting. Kulu's not fit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll leave him there at the moment. Son, Mortel, Scarlett, Solanke, Johnson, Odegaard. 3 of those. And do you rest Son for Thursday?
If he's fit, I can't see anything other than Son, Solanke, and Johnson. If he's fit, otherwise it's going to be Son, Tell, and Johnson probably, or maybe he might start. He might start Odegaard. You might see Son, Tell, Odegaard.
Yeah. What about you, Al? I don't see Son starting Sunday because to have him play them games and the game on Thursday as well, he may well, but logically. Although he always says he plays his strongest team, I think he really knows his job's on the line for Thursday. Right?
Yeah.
And a draw would be a disaster Sunday, to be honest. We want the win, but, you know.
Geez. You know, I don't know if Solanke playing... First of all, I don't know if he's going to play because of the knock he took yesterday. But playing your former club and coming off of injury, I don't know that it's the best combination. So he's probably going
to... Even if he feels fine, are you going to think, well, okay, we keep him for Thursday? I think he's going to keep on Solanke for Thursday, I really do. But I've been proved wrong so many times, you know.
I just think you got to get minutes in legs. You know, we talk about these guys needing to hit the ground running, and they can't hit the ground running if they ain't got minutes in their legs. So I can see him at least getting 45. He might not. Well, you know, I guess depends on how bad the injury is. He might not start, but you might find he gets another 20, 30, 45 minutes.
I'd say if they come on Solanke or Son, I'm not so sure about Solanke. You've got Tell and Scarlett. Now people are screaming for Scarlett. Scarlett, I watched him as a 17-year-old. He's only 20 now. Always bangs goals in England.
He's who I would put in the middle, to be honest, Scarlett.
Future at Spurs, but I mean, like, he's going to have a footballing future because he is a natural goal scorer. I've watched the kid.
Well, also he's actually not half bad in the air, right? Porro put in that cross for him, and he scored with a his header. So he's actually a bit of a unit. He looks like he's eating his old self. Like I saw him come off the bench first time when we called him back. He's like, hang on a minute.
Pre-season as well.
He's put on a few pounds, so I think he's all right.
And he scored in Kane's last game, the 5-1 win over Shakhtar Donetsk at the stadium. He got the 5th goal, the turn and swivel, the swivel in the box and smashed it in.
You forgot about this guy, Adrian.
Yeah, that was deliberate.
I'm sure he didn't.
Coke off, you're right. I'm remiss. I did forget to put him in.
Oh, heaven, my
God. Well, what you have to consider as well is you only allowed 9 subs. And with a fully fit squad, and you've got 25, 20 players you can use, 20 of those players you can name, and 5 don't make the matchday squad.
Right.
So I don't. after Werner's crap performance last time, I think he's really out of favour. When he cut back instead of putting the cross in the box, you can see Ange having one on the touch line. Then people say it's not animated. I think Son and Slanky get rested. I mean, I don't know, which means on the left wing you've only really got Moore.
I could see.
We haven't seen him for a minute either. Don't know where he's been.
So
I could see Odebear and Scarlett, and then maybe I would put Tell on the right. He's played the right. He knows how to play it there. You got Scarlett, who we recalled from his loan, and to not play him doesn't make any sense to me. I would just play him.
That's a good call, actually, Alan. I think if Scarlett starts, Tell plays on the wing, and we get a chance to see him on the wing, because this is, like I say, Tell's got to show something to the fans to be worth it. The rumoured fee for him, which is probably 50 mil, not 60, as the rumours go. And we probably paid 5 of that in a loan. So if we're going to pay 45 mil for him at the end of the season, he's got to show that he's worth that. And
definitely.
And at the moment, he hasn't shown. He's shown potential with the goal of Villa. Nice score with the outside of his foot in the corner. But yeah, that's a good call. I like that. Scarlett in the middle. I mean, you can still have Solanke and Sonny on the bench and all that. Moore on the left, Odegaard on the right. And then you've got Moore is so skillful. He's not the quickest, but he's got that. He's got such good balance to switch his weight from side to side and going in and around players.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the player. I watched him all last season.
Yeah. All right, what do we think, boys?
God, I don't have the stomach to give a score that would mean that Spurs lose. So I'm gonna say it's gonna be 1-1. We don't let in a lot of goals, but we do tend to let in a goal at least. Last couple games we lost 0-1. So, and that was against Man City. So, yeah, we'll lose by 1 goal. Exactly. That's probably what. Look, if you're being honest, look, Bournemouth are an Areola. They are a informed team. I know that they have lost a couple recently, but they're an informed team. They figured out a way not only to compensate for losing Big Dom, they are thriving without him. So that's a little frustrating because we were not so lucky when we lost our star striker. So I'm going to say 1-1 because I don't want to say that we're going to lose.
Fair play. Adrian?
2-1 Spurs. I'm going to the game, but I want to announce I shall not be renewing my season ticket next season.
No
matter how the season finishes, I'm not renewing it. I've done my bit, and for £1,300, I've got better things to do with my money. I can afford it, but I'm not renewing next year. This for multiple reasons, obviously, partly the club, blah blah, and all that, So
fair enough.
No, it means if I decide to put more money into this group, I can do that. There's advertisers on Spurs pages I want money for. I was weighing it up, and I thought, well, why not get more attached to the Spurs community that's out there? So that's just an idea. And of course, with you, Drew and Ian, and Chang's a good mod, Ian and Tom as well. When we get round to June and when we pay for this, we'll if we don't monetize beforehand. But this, guys, while I'm on that, I mean, we haven't monetized the channel for those who's watching on playback or viewers here now. And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is simply not because we haven't got a good following. You only need 4,000 hours to monetize. You only need 1,000 members to monetize. But we've got 8,000 viewing hours, and we've got 51 subscribers. But what we do lack, guys, is that even at the moment, we've got 21 of you viewing this. All right, we know it's a strange time of night for UK viewers. And we really want to see about 30 in the chat channel on a regular basis before we monetize. Because if you monetize, you've got to do something for members. And you need a sufficient amount of them, to be fair. And Well, and we're not here to rip anybody off. If the channel pays for itself, that in itself would be fine, right? And any extra money we could put into the adverts on the Spurs page, which we run, because we also run a Facebook group with 14,500 members, but most of them are Southern Continent and they're at a different time zone. And with Facebook groups, you're not committed to a time a show goes out like our show goes out. You can go there any time of the day, and see what I've posted. The same, and we've got a Twitter group as well. And we've got a Spurs page, which has just been up and running. It's only got 285 followers at the moment. But you'll find I've put 1,100 photos on there, right? And they're in the public domain. So you can all go and steal the photos if you use Facebook. That is, if you don't, that's fair enough. If you don't use Twitter, that's fair enough as well. But for those of you who come here, please spread the word. I mean, we've only been going like 9 months, 8 months, 9 months, something like that. So we're doing okay, but we'd just like to see some more people in the chat channel. So if you can spread the word, that would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, so we've been going for 1 hour and 51. I don't want to do the transfer window stuff because it'd go too long. I can save that for Ian. And you got somewhere to go, Drew, yeah?
Yeah, I have to head right out, dude. I've got a couple of places that I need to head to. Just want to say big up to the chat. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Big up Nita, Fakov, Daniel 90, SDFC Benny, who was David Clark, Pilch 58, Forsaken Leader, Angelo Tyro. I'm trying not to miss anybody. Is Ashley bombing the chat as per usual? Big up. Yeah, so thank you very much, Adrian. Thank you, Mr. Rakdos Madness. I will see you all next week.
And I forgot, Alan, to get the link to your channel up as well. So
that's okay. You do it next time.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I want to thank Chang. I want to thank Alan, regular guest and friend of the show. Thank Drew, fellow admin. And I want to thank everyone in the chat. I want to thank everyone who takes the time to bother us to watch on playback. And like I said,
absolutely,
please spread the word to help the channel grow. If you like the content, give the videos a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And with that, I'll thank you all again, and I'll play you out, and I'll see you guys in the back room.
Have a good one, boys. Gotta go.
Take it easy.